Hi, guys. With me today, Manuel Romero. So, Manuel, thanks for coming on.
Mhm.
What I wanted to talk to you about is heritage, because let's get real. Unless you're Native American, everybody came from somewhere. And for all I know, maybe you might have some Native American, but where do your people call home, if you will, going way back?
Way back, New Mexico,
Oh, really?
450 years back.
Okay, don't normally hear New Mexico when it's in the U.S., by the way. Okay, that New Mexico as old, but wow. Okay, so there's got to be a story behind that.
Well, my family came here as subjects of the Spanish crown to settle the northern province of New Mexico
Wow.
in 1600
Whoa.
and have been there ever since. And we were there, our family was there for 350 years before we moved to Utah
Wow. Yeah, well,
in the mid 1950s.
So where in New Mexico?
It's a little place called, well, we call it the Peñasco Village, which is made up of several villages. I
Yes.
was born in a little town called Rodarte, and that's where all of my brothers and my sisters were born, all 14 of us. And only two, I believe, were born in a hospital. The rest, we were born at home.
Wow.
And
Your mom.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, what a remarkable woman she was. So, as I said, and during the time that our family was there and conducting my research, I just discovered just how much they had to do with New Mexico history, with
Yep.
U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and from the various rebellions to the Mexican-American War, and so on, and they survived, and all the challenges that it had to now that came with it. You have to remember, this is 200 years before the pioneers
Yeah.
came west.
Exactly.
Okay, they were coming up north from first Mexico City up to Zacatecas and then into what is now Santa Fe. And for example, four of the eight families that's founded Santa Fe were our ancestors.
So Santa Fe is and your valley is about what part of New
It's
Mexico?
kind of north central.
Okay.
Okay, and then my family comes from the various counties from up north of Santa Fe, and like as I said, they've lived there for 350 years.
That's
And
that's amazing. So how did they survive? I mean, what kind of things did
well,
they do?
and this is what is interesting about my story is that it was because of land that we came to New Mexico with land grants, okay,
Ah,
that were issued by either the Spanish crown or the Mexican government, and that enticed people to come north, and that's why my family came north. They were uh, given these land grants. Our family, we come from two land grants. One is Las Trampas land grant, the other one is Santa Barbara land grant. My grandfather his name is on those grants and on those documents rather. And so we have that connection with the land. And that kind of gives us a heads up, if you will, or a head start in researching or discovering our history because we have documents with our ancestors' names written on them. And so, on the other hand, much of that land was stolen.
mm,
Okay, there's a Santa Fe ring. There's swindlers. There's now you have to remember in 1848 when New Mexico became part of the United States, approximately 70% of the population of New Mexico, first of all, were Spanish speaking and had followed Spanish law, not English law. So
okay.
had no clue about contracts.
Mm,
Private property was even kind of different because land grants oftentimes were communal. So a lot of this land was taken. So in time, it took its toll. The people could no longer go to the mountains to get their timber, feed, herd their sheep. Their water rights were taken, and a variety of other things. So it made it more difficult for these people to make, or for our ancestors to make a living. So with time, jobs became more scarce, became harder to make a living and to survive in the area. So in time, these people would eventually leave, and in the beginning, they would leave temporarily to
right.
go sheep herd, to go pick crops as migrant labor. But in time, many of them stayed, and as my family came to Utah for jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, but New Mexico was a very alluring place. I myself have made easy 70 to 80 trips since leaving New Mexico back and forth.
Wow.
My family has probably, and relatives and families that have left there, I could tell you have put easily over 1 million miles going back and forth because family, religious ceremonies, weddings, baptisms, funerals, there's a constant traffic between Salt Lake and the Penasco Valley.
Oh wow. Well, and the thing is, the traditions are just incredible because to me, admittedly, and this is where I'm really, really glad to hear that you're doing this because when I talk to people and say, okay, have you ever been able to go experience this and be on the land that your people were? And the people, that a lot of people, most people have not. And the people that have, I mean, it's almost sacred ground
Yes, yes.
because that is so cool because I mean you think you are literally walking in the footsteps of your grandparents, but
Mhm.
you it's just like way 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 back. How many generations do you think the Romero family and your I guess it's
Hmm.
ancestors have been there?
Hmm. Well, from me backwards,
Hmm.
14 generations.
Whoa. Wow. So now here's the thing that I gotta just ask, okay? You're the first person that I've been able to ask because, okay, I got this many. How in the world did you know that it's 14 generations?
Well, fortunately, I live in Salt Lake near the LDS Family Research Center.
Okay.
They were a tremendous help in in discovering all this and finding all this information. And so with that, with DNA, with interviews, that's how we were able to find out because my mother was able to name her grandmother, right?
Yeah.
And my father was able to name his grandmother, and in some cases his great grandmother. But uh, again, through the Family Research Center, we were able to uh, just discover this family tree that just expanded and went back
Wow.
14 generations.
What's that mean to you?
You know, it means a lot because this is about heritage,
Hmm.
and heritage are basically stories with a touch of curiosity. And I became more curious. The more I found, I also got very frustrated because a lot of this information that I was getting was not taught to us. And as I learned more, I became more frustrated, but also became more inspired because there were so many stories there.
Hmm.
And to be able to trace our religion back 1700 years, a religion that my parents still practiced here in Utah. It was a very different kind of a Catholicism that came from Northern Europe. This was very much a medieval Catholicism. You have to remember, people were leaving Spain because in the 1500s because of the Spanish Inquisition,
Oh yeah.
right? So, and to get away from that, they would try to get as far away as they can, and New Mexico was one of the
Oh
places they
yeah,
could
that's
go
a place.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you're talking about not only former Muslims, but also Jews and even Christians who maybe have lost their belief in their faith.
Well, to be able to have that connection is just incredible. So I am going to give you a hard time. Okay. I'm a
Okay.
grandfather. And a big part of the whole reason I started this show is because to me, if stories are not passed down from
Hmm.
generation to generation,
Hmm.
they're lost. And then those people are forgotten.
Hmm.
You have 14 generations.
Hmm.
Do your kids and grandkids know the story of those people?
They do now. They have,
Well done.
many of them have read this and read it more than once and have told me just how proud they are. I didn't know this. I wish they would have taught me this in school.
Hmm.
I'm so much more proud of who I am, where we come from. So it's been very inspiring in that way. And not just nephews and nieces and my daughter, but extended family. What's very interesting is as after I finished this book and we put it on a website and we started having these little interviews, I was finding cousins I didn't know I had
Yeah,
in Virginia, in Spain, in Florida.
really.
And so that was very interesting because we have been able to reconnect. And so they are able to go to the website and get updates on what's going on with the book or just in some cases, other family events.
Well, I will say one of the things that I love about the fact that you're writing the book is number one, you're right. There's a whole bunch of, how should we put this? History gets a little blurry and the quote unquote winners change things.
Correct.
To be able to get the real stories and have those passed down, number one, is extremely important to the culture. Number two, though, is I hope that you inspire other people to say, we need to write these things down
Mhm.
because they are important.
Well, as you say, Doug, we all have a story. And
Yeah.
are you willing to take the time to research it? And you'll find many of you, I firmly believe, will find treasures
Oh,
in
yeah.
your stories if you take the time, if you're curious. And you know, as you've heard the saying before, the adage, you know, In war, the spoils go to the victor, but the victor also writes the history.
Hmm.
And that is what's happened. And I can give you a whole variety of reasons why our history may not have been written, but it is now. And again, part of that reason, and I think it's been really inspiring, is that with the digital age, documents are becoming available because the Spanish and the Catholic Church were very good record
Oh,
keepers.
yeah.
And so this information is coming out. We're finding journals. We're finding diaries of these individuals, some of them family, some of them not family. So it's going to take more research. And again, I could write an easy 3 or 4 more chapters
Yeah.
in addition to what I've written.
Well, I want you to write 3 or 4 more books. Forget chapters. So, out of all the stories, was there one that you just went, "Oh my gosh, that just kind of shocked you," or it was kind of like, I didn't see that one coming"?
Oh, gee, you got me because there's several, and
Yeah.
it's just trying to find the best one.
Hmm.
And the the one I talk about, and it was a rather recent discovery. Is that I talk about my mother's fifth grandfather, Roque Madrid. I mentioned him in the book because he had such an interesting story. And what's even more interesting is that I have found a documentary about him.
Wow.
And as I mentioned earlier, he spoke several languages. He was a diplomat. He helped put together several treaties with the various Native Americans. He was a sergeant major in the military, the Spanish Army at the time. And this individual is just very, very interesting. And I'm thinking, is he Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone?
Manuel, thanks so much for coming on and explaining your book. Now, I didn't get the entire title, but we're going to have some fun with this because you have a logo right on that shirt, and I see 3 faces. And I'm pretty sure that's tied to this book. So, what are those 3 faces and what do they represent?
You have to understand that when the Spanish came, they brought Catholicism with them. But they also brought slavery and began to enslave the Indians. Several things occurred, and one of those things that occurred was that in time Indian slavery became prohibited. And what that happened after that is more of the Spanish began to intermarry with the indigenous populations of the Americas. And this would eventually create a new race, the mestizo. So they have the Aztec uh, king, you have the Spanish conquistador, and in the middle is a mestizo, the result of that marriage.
And there you are.
And there we are.
You've got family all over the place, and you've been blessed to be able to go back to the old homestead a number of times.
Correct.
But let's talk closer to home. What's going on with Manuel's family?
Well, my parents had 14 children. 13 of us reached adulthood.
Wow.
And between them, we had 45 grandchildren. Okay. And currently, my parents have Rodolfo and Amelia Romero have 250 descendants,
Wow.
and the majority of them live here in the Salt Lake Valley, and we regularly hold either some kind of family event. We just recently had a reunion on my mother's side, on the Madrid side, and we had people come from California, New Mexico, and other places, and we're very close. We just had lunch today for my brother who passed away over 10 years ago, but we still honor him by all of us coming together and having a luncheon for him. And we do that for all of our siblings. And my nephews and nieces, many of them are best friends with each other. So very close. We're very blessed in that regard. And I must say that though I don't go to church much, uh, religion has played an important role in our family in keeping us together.
Yeah. So let's make sure we get this right because we want to give a shout out. So your mother's full name, the first, middles, the whole shebangy.
Hmm.
Okay, tell me, what is your mother's name?
It's Amelia. It's Amelia Maria Madrid.
Okay, and your father's name.
He never had a middle name. It's Rodolfo Romero.
Really?
Yeah,
Why is that? I
I couldn't
wonder.
I, I couldn't answer that, but there's a few people in my family who don't have middle names.
Oh, okay.
Not sure why.
Okay.
Maybe the all the saints' names were taken.
We might just use that in the show. Okay, that was funny. So because that's the thing, so okay, again, her first name?
Well, she's Amelia
Amelia, and your Rodolfo?
Rodolfo.
Okay, so, I think Amelia and Rodolfo would be very proud of you.
No, thank you. I hope that they would, and I hope that the children, their descendants, just learn so much from this because they have so much to be proud of.
With another entry in Family Heritage Stories and Manuel Romero, I'm Doug Jessup. We'll be right back.